Hello there, 3R. AP test is done. Yay. We are back to the textbook, which is what I'm sure you've been waiting for. We're in chapter 30 this week called The Crisis of Authority, and it's really picks up chapter 29, which we were in maybe a month ago, left off in 1968. 1968 is a turbulent year. Vietnam is at its peak, Tet Offensive, which is a psychological victory for the North Vietnamese, even though it was a military defeat. 68 saw the assassinations of Dr. King, of Bobby Kennedy. We had the election with Nixon. We had the turbulent Democratic National Convention in Chicago. All of that happened in 1 year. Nixon's election at the end of 68 is kind of a reaction to those events. And so this chapter is going to get us through the late 60s up until Watergate. So we're going through youth culture, hippies, Woodstock, new social movements amongst American Indians, women's liberation, gay rights, talks about the Nixon court, talks about Nixon and Kissinger, his national security advisor, and then Secretary of State. And then at the end it does talk about Watergate. So we're back to the notes for the week like we had been doing. Discussion board is back up, which for discussion board I'm asking you about your thoughts on whether the 60s, the youth culture of the 60s was actually a revolution. How do you define that term? It's kind of like what we did with the 20s and a new era. And then for our chat, we're going to talk about Watergate. I linked a video from the Newseum website. I may ask you guys to check that out and let me know that it works, because it's a link that I needed a username and password for. And then in our chat, we'll talk about the role of the press. You know, why was the Watergate affair a really big part of journalism history? And then we'll get into how much the public needs to know about the president and the using anonymous sources. Watergate really does mark a tipping point as far as how the press relates to the president. The Pentagon Papers came out about that same time, where it was shown to the public that the American presidential administrations had been lying about what had been happening in Vietnam and the dangers there. So we've got a lot to get to in chapter 30 this week. I'm glad the AP test is done. I'm sure you're relieved, and I'm sure you all did well. And I look forward to finishing out the rest of the year. We will probably not finish out all of the text, but maybe we'll cover 2 of the last 3 chapters. Anyway, have a good week. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you soon.